Yoel Roth, who was the like top guy of their moderation, was actively posting about children consenting and other creepy things like this that people have basically pointed to, saying the dude was obsessed with gay porn. He was posting nonstop about it. He had a dummy account, a sock puppet, where he would post lewd things apparently. And his Elon Musk called him out, saying his what was it? His PhD thesis was arguing for like minors to have access to adult sex apps.
The PhD thesis thing, I read some stuff about it, and the thing that I read, I don't think that he was arguing for underage people to be encouraged to use those things the way that people are saying that he was arguing. He was saying, look, kids get into apps, kids get porn, kids get these things. So trying to say that trying to just keep them off doesn't work. Now, I don't think he's right, and I disagree with the point that he was trying to make, but I don't think that in his PhD thesis he was intending to say that we should.
But here's
what was his topic?
He did like a PhD thesis on the use of Grindr and stuff like that. I'm not going to come out and say that the dude actively said children should be hooking up with adults on these apps. The issue is that he said kids are already on these apps. Yeah. Therefore, we need to consider that there needs to be something for them to use, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, that's the erosion. That's how we get from, if you went back in time 14 years and said, if this bill passes or if gay marriage is legalized, they're going to be teaching kids how to have gay sex in schools, they'd have laughed at you. I mean, that was a common talking point. Now, Project Veritas releases a video showing the dean in a Chicago school, was it Francis W. Parker, talking about how he was there as he brought someone in to hand around adult toys.
And that's a private school, right?
Private school. And when I talk to these leftists, they're like, well, they're just teaching sex ed, but queer sex ed. And I'm like, and there it is. They said it wouldn't happen. Of course it happened. If Yoel Roth is going to come out and say, look, they're already on these apps. He's basically saying the solution isn't to enforce the policy saying minors shouldn't be using adult hookup apps. He's saying, well, they're already there. So,
and this is the issue here. And I really want to bring this up because you add that to the fact that when he was running things at Twitter, which essentially he was calling all the shots. He was deciding who was going to be banned and not banned. There was children that came to the company and said, yes. My photos were uploaded when I was a child of me committing, adult actions. Please take it off. Twitter said, no, it doesn't violate our policy. He kept it on the platform as it was on their servers, as they were meeting with the FBI weekly. You're supposed to report those things to the FBI immediately. They were sitting and chatting with the FBI almost once a week, if not even more. And you add this to the fact of if you want to go down the rabbit hole, we can. And Jack Posobiec actually kind of pointed at this and hinted at this too. There is a possibility that the feds caught somebody, let's just say someone like Yoel, in a precarious situation or on a website, and potentially said, hey, we have you on this particular charge. You have to act on our behests unless we expose you and make you go to jail. That's one possibility that could be happening here. I'm not saying that there's actual proof here, but with the way that the FBI has been operating within the United States, it's fair to speculate that this is a major possibility here.
Okay, there is literally nothing that I would put past the FBI. I have absolutely zero confidence in the FBI as an organization, and I think it's corrupt as it gets. That being said, I don't know that there is any kind of evidence that makes me think that they have something on Yoel that would make Yoel ignore child porn.
What about Jeffrey Epstein?
But hold on. But he was. He was ignoring it.
I'm not saying that he wasn't. I'm saying that I don't know that the FBI has anything on it.
So my question is then why? Why were they ignoring it?
I just think Yoel's kind of a bad person.
But there was more than just him. There's a bunch of people that they knew it was happening and they outright were like, nah.
I can't even speculate. I can't wrap my head around how you justify leaving that kind of stuff up without taking and not taking.
Maybe it was like
I can't.
you complained or person A complained, but they couldn't confirm that it was actually person A.
No, families and children came to them and said, "Hey, this is me. This is on my platform."
Evidence,
Twitter said,
like,
"Yeah, this is fine. This is totally cool." And when we look at the FBI, this is not something that's uncommon. This is something that is common. Children and other people were coming to them in the 90s saying, "Hey, there's this guy with the private island who's doing these things to us." They ignored them for over 30 years.
We know the FBI ignored the Simone Biles, I think is that her name, the Olympic athlete, Simone Biles was her name, I think.
Yep.
And there was other people that
and
the
that
FBI,
other gym trainer, specifically.
They went to the FBI and the FBI didn't do anything.
Nassler, I think was his name.
Like that.
Larry Nassler, yeah.
Larry Nassler,
and,
there we
and
go.
so, yeah, I like I said, my faith in the FBI is almost non-existent. I have no use for it, and I'm the guy that wants to get rid of cabinet level bureaucracies. Abolish cabinet level bureaucracies. Get rid of them, a lot of them. So I wanted to get that out.
I don't think he needs dirt on Yoel to get him to cooperate. I think FBI probably reached out and he went, "Whoa,
Yeah.
cool, the FBI."
Yeah, I think he was like, sick. Let's do this.
There's the messages.
Yeah.
In the Twitter files where he's like, definitely not meeting with the FBI right now about Trump.
There was no need to encourage anyone at Twitter to get them to behave in a hostile manner towards Donald Trump or anyone else that they possibly would conceive of as a deplorable.
I have one big regret from that interview I did with Joe Rogan, and it's that it did not occur to me to ask Vijaya and Jack if they had been in communication with the government at all. And that was I look back on that, so stupid, because it should have been question number one. Okay, you're banning people. Is the government in any way involved in directing you or advising you or requesting you take anybody down? Didn't even occur to me to ask that. Because we weren't, it's the context at the time. At the time, the big question was private companies and what they were doing. But now I look back like, just to get it out of the way, like just as a formality, government, are they involved in any way? Mm-hmm. And they probably would have lied,
That would have been good, though. Get him on tape lying or telling the truth on that one. I think, in regard to Yoel, before we get too far away from this dissertation that he did, this PhD thesis, I think it's called Gay Data is the name of it. I think what he was indicating is not, he's saying, like you were mentioning, Tim, earlier, that we have Grindr and kids are getting on Grindr and that's a problem. How do we solve it? I think what he was suggesting is that we have an app for minors, like a Grindr for minors or a Tinder for minors. But where that falls short is like, how in the hell can you stop adults from getting in there?
I mean, that's only marginally horrifying. Right?
That sounded absolutely
right.
I mean, that's like, contemplate this Tinder for children. No.
Yeah,
but also, I'm pretty sure he talks about how Grindr isn't actually a dating app; it's a hookup app. How these guys aren't meeting to find love; they're geolocating each other for hookups. That's what I was reading about it. I don't want to disparage any of these guys who may be trying to find love. I don't know.
I don't know about, I don't know. I don't know how it works, but the idea of children being on Tinder, I've got a Tinder account and it's a mess out there. It is craziness. And so no, I
right.
can't.
This is the point. Recommending, but they're already using these apps because they want to meet people, right? We should make apps for them. No.
You shouldn't.
That's how they move the line. They keep moving the line. They're like, well, kids are gonna date. When a kid's in high school, he hangs out with his high school kids. He hangs out with his classmates and the kids. The chick from 7th period's got gym and he's got homeroom, whatever. They meet. They don't go on dating apps and then just start swiping right on random people in their neighborhood. It's bad enough adults do it.
Yeah. That there is no, I can't come up with a justification to give children.
That's the erosion. You can look. I'm not giving this guy Yoel the benefit of the doubt at all because the dude literally was the head of this stuff when exploitation was on Twitter and they weren't taking it down. So my assumption is he must enjoy it. So I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I look at what's going on and you get people who say something like, "Oh, a drag show isn't sexualized," and I'm like, they literally take their clothes off, do the splits, drop low, twerk in front of people. Like it is.
To say that a drag show is not sexualized, again, that's another thing where it's like, all right, well, I can't seriously engage in a conversation with you because you're not going to come from a place of honesty. Like,
but then there's no moving forward with solving these issues.
That's such a black pill take.
And if you look at
hold on, look, I got
because no moving forward. Like if you're actually saying no moving forward is real bad.
Have you had a conversation with a leftist about this stuff?
I see him on Twitter all the time. I know they're insane. They're insane.
There are friends of mine that we've had calm conversations. There's a friend of mine on Facebook. People need to understand this because the leftists refuse to acknowledge it. Okay, Luke and I were both at Occupy Wall Street. 3,000 people follow me. They're all leftist, Occupy people. When the death threats came in, I get a message from a few people. They're on the left, and they're like, look, man, I know we disagree. I disagree with the things you've said, but this is wrong. We obviously don't want this. Same regular people don't want it. These are the kind of messages I get. I then ask them, I'm like, here's the video from Project Veritas. This teacher was giving these things to kids, and the response from them is, this is acceptable and fine because it's sex ed for kids on queer issues. And I'm like, you see, that's it right there. Look, if you want to justify going to like sixth graders, 12-year-olds, and being like, here's anatomy and biology design, and you don't explain to them how to do anything. You just say like, here's like what happened with me when I was in grade school is they brought all the boys in one room, all the girls in another room. They said, here's the anatomy, here's how it works, here's sex ed, and that was it. What they're doing now is, under the guise of LGBT plus curriculum, handing children butt plugs and other adult toys and explaining spitting and lubing. Okay, that is well beyond sex ed. That is something different. They're not explaining to them how to reproduce or how the organs work.
Sex ed used to mean
it's kink
anatomy.
Class.
Yes, sex ed used to be anatomy and technical understanding of the function and operation, as opposed to now it seems like these classes are more about
kink class
and the dangers
and about.
Well, I remember they told you, hey, you could get these diseases, you could get pregnant this way. There wasn't a conversation and like a step-by-step program on how to have butt sex, right? I don't remember that in high school.
But the realism is that the sex ed is happening on the internet on porn websites, whether we want it to or not. Any kid that wants to find it at age 9.
Which is readily available, which is free, and it's out there, which should make people question, why is it so readily available? Why is it so? Why is there so much out there? Why is it so free? I want to take it down a bigger level.
I want to say one thing to that. Even if you're right, that doesn't mean that the state is in a position to say, well, your kids probably have cell phones or their friends have cell phones that can access pornography on the internet. So because of that, we're just going to go ahead and step on in here and insert ourselves into this aspect of your child's life. They don't have any right to do that just because there's pornography on the internet. And to make that leap, like that's not a logical leap that says, oh, because there's porn, then the state must do this thing. That is not an argument for it, in my opinion, at all. There's no reason.
Parents need to make sure their kids aren't going on these websites, don't have phones.
But this is a problem with more fatherless homes, with more parents not being able to be there for their children. It's left for a lot of these devices to raise them. And if you look at the devices that a lot of the children surround themselves with, whether it's Instagram or TikTok, what's on those platforms? What is suggested to you? What is on the explore options for a lot of these apps and applications? What is it? It's people shaking their asses. It's big fat booty hose.
The thumbnails on Instagram, it's like always some kind of suggestive thing. I think it was Alex Stein. I'm not sure. I think it was him. He pulled up Instagram, and there was a video of like a woman on her knees sticking her tongue out. And it was like, then when you play the video, it was her like kneeling down and tying his shoe or something.
Yeah, so to take it to another level, right? So we know the FBI plays a key critical role on big tech social media platforms, deciding who stays, deciding what gets played, what gets talked about, what gets, trending in the algorithm. I would even go as far as to say their involvement revolves around all those issues, especially when it came to the banning of people with all these companies working in unison. So I think that it even goes even further with them dictating a lot of this content and providing a lot of this over-sexualization of children, which is essentially destroying people's childhoods and robbing them of their innocence, but also creating a situation where they're less likely to have families in the future, essentially destroying a strong family unit, essentially making individuals that are more easily to be conquered and more easily to be enslaved with this larger social engineering, which is happening on all of these apps.
I heard as a pushback to the people that are complaining about drag shows, a lot of people are, and you might say people on the left, the counter is like, well, what about beauty pageants? What about 7-year-olds with makeup?
Bad too.
I think so too.
Yeah.
That red red makeup and lipstick is supposed to simulate a woman is ready to have
Ovulating.
Jordan
yeah.
Peterson talked about this extensively, and he made a lot of good references and points, especially when it came to a lot of the makeup that is suggestive of procreation. Let's just be honest here. Let's just be
Red
real with
lips.
each other. So putting that on small children, putting them in heels is something that again should be pushed back on. Even if it's those beauty pageants, absolutely push back on them immediately, because they're just strange. I never understood why they're doing this, and it's just as bad.
We've moved on so fast from this is not happening, to this is happening, so what? It's okay.
That's
It's
the meme.
Yeah.
That's the meme. It's not happening. Okay, it's not happening, but if it was, then it would be fine. Now it's happening. It's a good thing. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.